Oh, hi everyone. Thanks for coming on the last day. I didn't expect so many people to be hanging around on a Thursday afternoon. But yeah, my name is Justin. I'm here to give a quick talk around like UX, user experience in crypto. I think it's worth differentiating a little bit between like crypto UI UX and like what I want to talk about in terms of user experience. I think crypto UI UX today, for enthusiasts, it's obviously very interesting and cool, but it can be, I think it comes oftentimes from a developer-first mindset, which leads to very, undelightful, well, not necessarily undelightful, but complicated kind of user experiences, which I think those of us who've been in this space, we accept that, but at the same time, like, for wider adoption and stuff like that, kind of creates a lot of friction. So this is something that we work on my team at my company at Quiddly, and I thought it would be an interesting thing. I mean, 15 minutes isn't very long, but I thought it'd be like an interesting thing to kind of like raise and some of the thoughts we think about it as we make our own decisions around the processes and everything. So real quickly, before I jump in, I want to give a quick self-intro. Again, my name is Justin. I'm based here in Paris. I've actually, I'm not French, as you can probably tell. But I've been here for, this is year 11, which is, every time I say that is a very shocking thing. But I came in 2013, which is also when I bought my first Bitcoin. Someone just invoiced me on PayPal, and I paid him $800, and he sent me the keys. And so, yeah, I mean, if I ever leave France, at least I will have this memory of Paris buying a Bitcoin. I started my career in TradFi, working in corporate finance in Asia, in Japan and Korea, before moving into tech with startups, e-commerce, and SaaS. I got into crypto, honestly, mainly for speculation. I think I'm pretty comfortable to say that. But at the same time, obviously, like the sort of cross-border nature of the technology is extremely interesting for me, having kind of lived overseas and in multiple countries over the past almost couple decades now. Yeah, it's an extremely interesting way to transfer value at the least, right? I think if there's any sentiment or idea of product market fit in crypto, it's like cross-border remittances at the least, at the minimum we can say. I'm one of the co-founders of Quiddly, and yeah, we're a distributed team, but a couple of us are here based in Paris, and it's always a pleasure to speak at ECC. So to kind of set the stage a little bit around the context of what I want to talk about, we look at crypto from like a future of work perspective, as well as the Web3 perspective. I know for a lot of people, they're probably kind of sick of hearing about future of work in crypto, but it just makes a lot of sense for us because the nature of work today is increasingly decentralized, permissionless, and digital. All of us, not even in the crypto, the blockchain sense, like we're working online, we're collaborating through like software, web software, internet software, and you would think that aligns quite well with the sort of infrastructure, the technology that's being built in Web3, in crypto, right? Just in terms of like finance, we can pick one aspect of that, like compensation. You can pay people in tokens, no matter where they're based, like permissionlessly if you want. In terms of identity and credentials, NFT, on-chain verification, that kind of stuff is like perfect when you're working digitally, maybe increasingly more anonymously. So again, you would think that there's an extremely good fit alignment in the technology here for Web3 to really impact the future of work. The truth is, however, like public perception of Web3 and crypto is, and not just public perception, I think user experience, which is kind of the subject I want to broach, is really not there yet. If you just do a quick search of Web3 and crypto across like any of the major like publications, like news outlets out there today, like Bloomberg, New York Times, Washington Post, BBC. I'm not cherry picking bad stuff. This is like literally like the search results that hit up when you look at crypto and Web3. So, I mean, if we ourselves have not really defined what Web3 is, and if we ourselves are still kind of struggling to as early adopters, I mean, are still kind of struggling to like set those standards and set any kind of like stable stable software, stable workflow, stable like use of any of these protocols, then how can we expect the sort of good stuff around Web3, like identity, credentials, stuff like that, to trickle down to the wider internet user audience? It doesn't help, I think, when like, it's interesting, I think if we believe this to be true, there's like 420 million people who hold crypto. I'm imagining that includes like sexes as well. That's like less than 6% of the world today. If you think about internet penetration, which has done like a lot for collaboration, a lot for like digital native work and stuff like that, I think it's something like close to almost 80%. It's like 75% or something like that of people are online. They're doing stuff online. And so if you think about, of that percentage, how many are actually just even holding crypto, it's still pretty low. And then if you look at the average user, or average, like on Gemini, for example, this is where I got these stats, the average user on Gemini, it's purely for speculation, for trading. So it's gonna be really hard to shift over to the cool, like collaborative stuff if even the currency stuff is still like really based around speculation, around trading, which isn't a problem in itself, but again, like to shift that user experience to more kind of application layer stuff, like we need to move beyond like the currency kind of aspects of those things. It's interesting if you compare it to like what non-crypto, when I say non-native here, I mean like what non-crypto people do on the internet. Again, like 75% of the world is online, but they're watching movies, they're paying bills, they're even doing financial stuff, they're doing online education, things like that. None of it really needs blockchain, none of it really needs like decentralization or anything. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we make them kind of realize, I mean, it's clear at the least that they're not valuing permissionless like applications, they're not really valuing decentralization, and that in itself, we shouldn't criticize people for not understanding that, right? I think it's normally like the demand in the market that sets how things are built, how products are sold, and things like that. And so it's just really interesting. You have a higher percentage of people online, but so how do you get them to appreciate the benefits of decentralization? So we go into, I'm doing a little shill here. This is what we build at Quiddly. We build like what we're trying to coin as micro on-ramps, where we build token rails natively into Web2 apps. We're starting with Slack and Discord. It's kind of a fancy way of just saying P2P tipping in these Web2 apps. But for us, like being able to meet the users halfway is a large kind of part of our vision, of our mission. And while it may seem kind of trivial, like the P2P tipping aspect, I can show you like when we started just primarily as a custodial like web app to do like tipping for distributed teams and stuff like that. Prior, we had been building like smart contract, like security tokens before real world assets were a thing. And we spent like almost a year building smart contracts and stuff. No one used our shit. It's painful. When we had, easy to send Bitcoin from shared custodial wallets, people started tipping. When we built that into Slack and Discord, within like the first year of doing that, we were suddenly doing like a couple thousand in volume to 250,000. And last year alone, when we finally like really ramped up Discord, no mention of like decentralization, no mention of like non-custodial wallets or something. We did like 3 million in volume. These aren't like crazy DeFi numbers, of course, but I think it goes a long way to like showing how like user experience is something that's sorely missing in crypto. That kind of consideration is not there at all. And you can have like, maxis railing on like, why are like normal people not understanding? But I think that's just, that's life, c'est la vie. Like that is like the normal way internet products are built, or products in general are built. Things that I think are good food for thoughts is like progressive decentralization, sort of like shifting in ways that make sense. Some ideas that I thought like people should think about, like we can all think about as we continue to build into space, is less D, more app. Like you don't have to build a full-out on-chain solution from day one. Like what parts, from the problems you're trying to solve, what parts do need to go onto the blockchain, what parts do need to be decentralized, and what parts can progressively be done so. I think Siwi is a great, signing with Ethereum is a great kind of example of that kind of compromise. Like wallets as accounts is a big thing for identity. And I think more that should be explored more rather than just like through to connect your wallet and stuff like that. NFTs, as I mentioned, as credentialism beyond like PFTs would be great. Even DeFi beyond like rug pulls is something we should like. These are the sort of things we should get more and more excited about now, not where our next pump and dump is coming from. Apps today, I think, that do a great example of this. Coinbase, I mean, you can say any sex, but I think Coinbase is a great example of a crypto product that's progressively decentralizing. Lolly as well for like earning Bitcoin. Brave browser for people who are using it, collecting BAT. Finally, Farcaster, one of my favorite decentralized social media protocols. These guys, they're not forcing anyone to do stuff on chain. They're not forcing verification or anything, but inherently, large parts of the backend or large parts of the functionality and operations are on chain. It's just the user has no need to kind of interact with any of that. Considerations, I do think more web3 as a layer to web2, similar to kind of what I mentioned, the approach we're taking, could be helpful. I mean, incentives are a big part of anything we do. So like more ways around education for incentives rather than just like airdrop farming. Things like that, I think, are great considerations for people to make as you decide to build new things on crypto. Finally, before I finish, I think this is, it's not blown up well enough, but this is like basically the history of web browsers over the past like 2 decades. Over here is like when World Wide Web Browser was made. Here is Navigator through Mosaic. This is still really early, and none of the standards have been built. This is probably like the mid-2000s when more and more consumers were increasingly coming online. It took almost 20 years to get to Chrome today, which is like 66% of the market. And this is how most people are accessing the internet today. It might seem like a painful slog that we have in crypto, but this, I mean, looking at this chart all the time, like, gives me so much perspective. And it also shows you how, like, cross-chain protocols and things can evolve, because it's the same thing with browsers. Like, a lot of these protocols, a lot of these development kits are mixed. And in terms of just grabbing that kind of perspective on how, like, crypto and Web3 can grow, I think this is one of my favorite charts to always share. So thank you for listening. I'm sorry 15 minutes is really short, but I hope there was some kind of interesting knowledge here shared, and please connect with me in any way, or I'm happy to take any questions after as well. Thanks.